There we go.
Aloha, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to our first Tiki Tuesday Talks. I'm Pete Nemangloski, founder of Tiki by the Sea. Super stoked to have you guys watching with us. Really glad to be a part of what's going on here. I'd like to first introduce Brother Cleve, who is our de facto ambassador of Tiki by the Sea, been to every single one other than myself. Cleve, give a wave.
Hey!
Next, Steva Casey, Managing Event Coordinator. Hi, Steva.
Hi. So excited.
Aaron Joseph, Assistant Managing Event Coordinator.
Yay!
Hello, man. Where are you guys coming from?
I'll start. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, Mass. Steva?
Birmingham.
Birmingham.
And I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Balmer. All right. Excellent. I'm here coming from Las Vegas, Summerlin area. So we'll jump in and we'll see what the structure of what we're going to be doing here is. So Tiki Tuesday Talks, just a little intro. You guys may or may not know we've done for the past 5 years now. We've had live bartender-oriented events, multi-day, really kind of full exploration, education, cultural sessions, etc. And now this is our first foray into bringing some of this content digital. Obviously, with the pandemic, etc. We unfortunately had to cancel our in-person event. We do hope to bring that back next year, stronger than ever. But in the interim, we wanted to make sure you guys got to hear from some of our awesome speakers about some various topics, go a little bit deeper on certain ones, etc. So we're going to be doing this weekly at this time. So 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, all through the Zavi platform, which will be kicked out live beyond that. So do sign up. This topic, again, Brother Cleve, talking about the Tiki time machine. So he's going to take us back. This man has lived through more of this stuff than any of us could have hoped. He's still spry as ever. And he's going to give you a little bit of the journey of his first discovery of Tiki bars on. Mahalo, Stefan. Good to see you, man. So a little bit of the agenda. We're going to get an aloha going. Chat box and questions. So you guys may or may not know, but within Crowdcast, there's a box there. We'll collect some questions for the Q&A later. So feel free to fire those over. And then you could also share this event out if you want to get more people visualizing it in that top corner of Crowdcast. The presentation for Cleve is going to be about half hour, 40 minutes. He's going to make us a cocktail, which you guys may have seen the spec for already. Hopefully you grab some ingredients. Highly encourage you to make it along with us. Post it, tag at Tiki by the Sea NJ or hashtag Tiki by the Sea. And get the word out. We're going to have surprises in the future for some of those. And then we've got 5 questions with the Tiki fam going from there. So, Brother Cleve, Mr. Aloha, musician, bartender, DJ, producer, writer, old motherfucker. This man has seen it all. He's done it all. We're going to enjoy hearing a lot about his history. But I think first, really, what we need to do is we need to cut to Cleve for an aloha, as is tradition. Will you take us away, sir?
Yes, indeed. All right. So I've done every Tiki by the Sea starting in 2014, I believe that first one was. And
right, maybe. little hazy.
Well, on the second year, I thought, we need something kind of swinging to open the thing, because I'm the opening act, I guess we could say. And I spent my entire life in show business, so I thought, we have a slide that says "Aloha" with a naked wahine on it. That's the people are looking at that before I start. So I thought, well, I should just say "Aloha," some kind of like that first one was. And
Right, maybe a little hazy.
well, on the second year, I thought, we need something. I'm hearing myself coming back that way.
You're good to go now. Apologies. Tech
Okay.
issue on this side. You're good.
Okay. So, back to what I was saying. So I decided to, have a little aloha moment to start the festivities of the, it's a 3-day event. So we'd lead it in and have everybody at home there at the Barcelona Motel in Wildwood, New Jersey, to repeat it after me. And those of you who are watching at home right now, you can do the same thing if you like. I don't think we have everybody's mics on, but if you want to do it, so we'll just start out. We start with the first one, and I'll point to the photo where it says aloha, and just go aloha. Very Hawaiian style, So, but then the second one, we want to give it a little more emphasis, So it's like aloha. You want to repeat that now?
But we better do it.
All right. So the next one, though, the finale of the whole thing, we go aloha.
Well done. Well done.
It's a little longer too, but and that way you have been cleansed for the at least for the first 24 hours of Tiki by the Sea, and I guarantee that all the participants there will not have a hangover on Monday morning.
Great.
They can take
It works digitally. It works digitally also. It's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So those of you who wake up on Wednesday morning, you'll be hangover free. But let's just get back into what we're talking about now today. We're calling it my Tiki time machine. And if you've ever seen my Tiki, the Rise, the Fall, the Resurrection, the Redemption, which I've done at every Tiki by the Sea in Wildwood, New Jersey, and also at Fregene Beach in Rome, Italy. And at some of the other events, I've done a lot of USBG events around the country doing it at that. But it's a history of Tiki from 1898 to now. So my own Tiki history, and this is how I started out. This is the way the show starts. In 1972, I was 17 years old. I'd already started my illustrious career in the low-level show business. And on this day in particular, I'd been playing in bands, rock and roll bands, since in bars and getting paid for it since I was 15 years old. So this particular night, I was playing a high school prom, and this prom was taking place at. We want to show a slide now. We're going to show where this place was. It was called the Kowloon. Well, there it is, the Kowloon, Saugus, Massachusetts. It's still there. It's been there since 1950. If you look in the center,
what a name, Saugus, Mass. What a name.
That's the original sign that's in the neon sign that's in the corner there. But the sign where they rebuilt it in 1969 and added this whole other room where I did do the prom. But there's a giant tiki there that was carved by Leroy Schmaltz of Oceanic Arts, Whittier, California, who were the guys that do all the major tiki restaurants, Polynesian restaurants in the United States, starting in 1958. So beautiful place, and the show went. We can get rid of the slide now. When the show ended, the prom, I went downstairs with my band, and the owners there, the family gave us, poo-poo platter and some food to fed us in a lovely hospitality style. And then in front of me, they put the volcano bowl. Yes, the volcano bowl. I actually have one around here, but it's beautiful stuff. It was lit on fire, usually using something like this, Trader Vic's flaming brandy that you would put inside the little volcano, or 151 rum.
What's the proof on that flaming brandy?
That was 100 proof.
100 proof.
Yeah, still nice though. But they put it in front of me. Now remember, I was 17 years old. I was not old enough to drink. But life was better in the 70s in a lot of ways. A lot of you missed that. Most of you missed that. But it was really cool. So they didn't care about IDs back then. As long as you could reach the bar, you could drink. So I enjoyed that, and I had that drink, and I said, you know what? I want to drink one of these. My life. And now, 48 years later, I've been pretty successful. So what happened after that was the next following year, 1973, I turned 18. And the federal government decided 2 weeks after my birthday to lower the drinking age to 18. Yes, happy days were here again.
Wow.
I didn't need to have a fake ID or anything. I could go anywhere. So naturally, getting these tiki drinks was right up at the top of my list. So let's go to the next slide there, Pete. The Trader Vic's had been open in Boston at the Statler Hilton Hotel. Trader Vic had a deal with the Hilton Hotels where he franchised his restaurants all around the United States, and actually the first one outside of the United States was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. That was a U.S. territory at the time, but that was in 1952. But they were in all the major cities, and we had one here in Boston. And I started going down there. This is an older postcard from my collection, but it was pretty cool. It did close, unfortunately, in 1978 when the hotel got sold. We can get rid of that slide now. Yeah, there we go. So I couldn't go to that Trader Vic's anymore. Eventually, I did get to other ones, the one in Atlanta and in Emeryville, California, and there was one in San Francisco before that I visited. But there were plenty of other places around the greater Boston area and Boston itself, besides the Kowloon. Actually, right by the Kowloon was a place called the Diamond Head, which was really, really gorgeous. And that got torn down in the mid-90s, but that was really a phenomenal place. And down up also in that area was the Bally High, which was kind of well known for what they call around here Tiki Bingo. Now, Tiki Bingo is actually Keno, and it's on the TV screens in the bar, and people would just sit there and play that. But people that would hang out in tiki bars would call it Tiki Bingo.
What's tiki about it? Just the fact that it's in a tiki bar?
Sitting there having a Polynesian drink while you're playing. Or in many cases, it might be a Bud Light and a shot of.
Let's open a Tiki Bingo saloon in Vegas. Are you in? I'm
in. I am in. Definitely. Get the hell out of the cold and snow up here. That was a great place. One of my favorites. I actually have you can see it, you can't really see it here. The South Seas, which was in Chinatown. Wait a minute. I got something here I can show you. Now this is an original menu from there. Beautiful. This is so Sven Kirsten, who wrote the book on Tiki Modern. This would be considered a Tiki Modern design. Kind of like it might have been painted by Picasso or that type of style. And here's your wine list on the back. But they also had a separate cocktail.
Pretty extensive wine list there, huh? For a
yeah.
tiki bar?
Well, actually, no, not really. It is cocktails, tall drinks, bourbons,
okay.
Irish whiskey, scotches, sours and fizzes, rums, gins, brandies, liqueurs. And then there's the wine and beer. Budweiser, Miller's, imported. Domestic wine, sherry, port, muscatel, claret, sauterne, and burgundy.
Where's Miller imported from?
Yeah.
The west side of the country?
No, that time it would have been Germany or England.
Really? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Watney's Red Barrel was one of the first imported beers that showed up over here, and Heineken. of course,
Yeah.
and Beck's. And Beck's was considered like the real high class kind of beer.
Watney's Red Barrel, eh?
Yeah. Good luck finding that in the United States these days. So it was really good. But yeah, that's kind of it. Sparkling wines that has mums, which you don't want. This was their their cocktail menu, their Polynesian drink menu. And as you can see here, this is a beautiful little artifact. I've had this for a long time. But, these are all Princess Papuli. That's $1.45. Dr. Funk, the original drink prescribed for Robert Louis Stevenson in Tahiti as a cure for heat sufferer. That'd be $1.50. The Mai Tai, this means the best in South Seas, and it is. Ancient Jamaican rum makes it so, all right? They did not have 17-year-old Ray and nephew at the South Seas. I can attest to that.
What year is this from? What year is this menu?
So this place closed around 1983 or 84. I'm going to guess that this is, I started hanging out there around 75. So this is around that time, mid 70s, what this was. They also had a non-alcoholic menu on the back, which of course has Scorpion for $2. I guess there's no booze in that. Who knows? Coconut juice, pineapple juice, and pina colada, which would just be pineapple juice and coconut. So really great little place. It had a waterfall in it, which was always really good. These places were really elaborate still in the 70s and early 80s, as they started to close down in the early 80s. But things like indoor waterfalls and just a lot of tikis and a lot of South Seas decor. And this continued, like all around the country, a lot of the places that I ended up going to. Actually, the most insane place of all was the Kahiki in Columbus, Ohio. And this is a sort of an artist rendition of the interior of it with this gigantic tiki fireplace. It was 80 feet high. There's an actual photo of it from their brochure. I guess if you got a motel or hotel room, they have all the little brochures in the rack in the office, and you could look at this and go, gee, Mildred, I think we should go there tonight. And some of the drinks and food there. This has the drinks inside.
Wow.
All of these menus had, in this case, they're photographed, but usually they were artist renditions of a lot of the drawings. So these were really, really magical places to go to. I had one in my neighborhood. Actually, I had two in my neighborhood. Maybe it was three. But the South Pacific, and you would get hammered at these places. But the interesting thing about all of these places was they all had the drinks were the same name, but they never ever tasted the same. Got to be like, well, who has the best Mai Tai? Well, actually the Kowloon had a really good Mai Tai. It does not taste anything like Trader Vic's original version of a Mai Tai or any later versions that Vic had done. It doesn't taste anything like that. But you would I've had discussions about this with some of the other old timers of our group, like Jeff Berry, who would say, you would find a drink that you liked at one of these places and just go there, and that would be what you would order there. One place might have a really great fog cutter. One place might have the one of my favorites, the Suffering Bastard, or the SB. Whenever you would order one of these, and the waiter would repeat it, he would always say SB. Like, no, don't say that word in front of it. I can't.
So this has a lot to do with the fact that many of these places, specs weren't out there, right? It was kind of like interpret your own way type of vibe, and it becomes the house classic version, and there really wasn't the same documentation going on. Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Exactly. They just, they knew the names, but nobody knew how to actually make the drinks. Not for the most part. None of them were published. Trader Vic published a bartending guide in 1946, and then another one in 1972. But he never put the Mai Tai in either of those books. He saved that for his autobiography in 1977, Frankly Speaking, which is a really great book. I highly recommend that. I'll pull it out and show it to you, but it's over there. But
that's pretty good. That's good marketing.
Yeah. And he just, and Don the Beachcomber, as many of you probably know, there's a picture of Don. This is an old menu of Don's from the Hawaiian Village in Honolulu. And this is one of my favorites. During Tiki by the Sea, we always talk about that. I like to read the menu to these bartenders. And of course, Tiki by the Sea mostly takes place, these seminars take place during the day. So everybody's doing day drinking, or as Don would call it, before sundown. And let's look at some of these. You know, the Beachcomber's rum barrel serves 2. Half a barrel of rum, limit 2 per person. Don's Own Planters, limit of 2 per person. QB Cooler, limit of 2. Test Pilot, Don recommends no more than 2. Zombie, Don will not serve more than 2 to each person. So of course everybody wants fucking like 3 or 4 of these motherfuckers, right? They're not going to get them. They're going to say, "Sorry, you can't do that." But what a brilliant marketing thing. And Don steamed the labels off of all of his bottles, so nobody really knew how to make these drinks. His bartenders did figure it out eventually, and people like Mariano Lucadine, who opened the Mai Tai. We got a picture of the Mai Tai there, don't we? The Mai Tai down in Fort
do indeed. Let's get it queued up.
Yeah.
Boom.
There it is. Yeah, the Mai Tai. That's a spectacular place. We had a Tiki by the Sea reunion party there last year during the Hukilau, and we all went to the Mai Tai and got the grand tour of the kitchen. And the kitchen is where the actual bar is, because they don't make the drinks at the bar in the Mai Tai. They're made in the same way that Don the Beachcomber made them, in the back room. It's phenomenal. I had been back there before. Kern Matty, the GM, had brought me back a few years back to show it to me. But it's great because it's just like this 4 folks there, 4 people who are making the drinks. The first one pours the base spirit. The second one does the modifier. The third one does the icing, and the last one does the shaking or blending of however it's being done, and the last person does the garnishing and hands it off to the server. And that was like the machine that could keep these drinks coming out, and because they're fairly complex, obviously, with a lot of different spirits in them. So that was something that Don realized back in 1934. And Mai Tai is the only place that still does that way.
Question for you, Cleve.
Yep.
So take us through a little bit, like really high level, your first experience with the tiki bars, where they were at, how they were going into the 80s, going into the 90s. Like, what's the really broad sweeping view of the trajectory of tiki bars from when you started to kind of more recent times?
Gauguin in New York City. It didn't last very long. It opened around 1995, I believe. It was in the space of the old Trader Vic's, which had closed down in the mid 80s, and that just screamed affluence, and just everything was just perfect. You know, and it was expensive too, which is probably why it didn't really last too long, because people even then would have thought of a Polynesian experience as being a little lower price, even though places like Trader Vic's and Don the Beachcomber and the Luau in Beverly Hills, Steve Crane's place, were all pretty expensive, as was the chain of Kontiki Ports. This is an original Kontiki Ports mug here. That was a chain that was in the Sheraton hotels. Victor had the Hiltons, and Steve Crane set these up in Sheraton hotels around the U.S. There was one in Boston I used to go to, and that was very, very nice. You could see that was also a very kind of fancy night out. But I think the one time it was really kind of screamed opulence, besides that Gauguin, which only lasted about a couple of months, as I recall, was the Tonga Room in the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. Otto Von and I went up there back in the 90s. Otto at this point was living. He and Baby Doe were living in San Francisco. Otto von Stroheim, for those of you who are unfamiliar, started Tiki News magazine back in. I have every issue here, and some of them have nice color covers. I think that was the last issue, but he started that as a desktop publishing little magazine. Sent me one in the mail back in 1994, I guess this was, when it first came out. And he also, he and his wife Baby Doe started Tiki Oasis back in 2000. So, but we went up there, and the whole idea of it was the Fairmont Hotel, gorgeous, very high-end hotel. And you took an elevator on the side of the building, one of those exterior elevators. And I remember I asked Otto, I said, so, you're from California, so what would happen if there was an earthquake right now when we were in this? And I never saw a person get so scared in their life. He just kind of jumped back and said, don't even say that. I said, okay. So, but we got up to the top floor, and there was a body of water in it, and the band was on a boat, and the boat would come out and they would play their set for, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes or something like that. And then when the set would end, the boat would go back where the band members could, start drinking heavily like musicians do. I've been one my entire life. So that was really a really cool scene. Again, the drinks were very well made there. Nothing again was really what they were supposed to be, unless you went to Trader Vic's or Don the Beachcomber. I was not alive when actually I was alive when the original Don the Beachcomber in Hollywood closed, but I never went there. I did go to the Don the Beachcomber in Las Vegas, which was in the Sahara Hotel.
Oh,
and the Sahara's gone now, isn't it?
It's kind of back, but in a totally different iteration.
Because you used to be able to actually still see that it said Don the. They changed the name of the restaurant in there. They put a new sign up over it. But if you went and stood under it, you could see that it still said Don the Beachcomber, and like these little neon sign for it. That was a really cool place, and it had really good drinks there. The other thing that went on back then, it was interesting because I never thought anything about it, but I got a call from an online publication. I forget right off the top of my head. It was about 4 years ago, saying that the author called me and said Martin Cate had told him that he had to talk to me. Martin Cate, who owns Smuggler's Cove, that this guy needed to talk to me because of the idea of Chinese restaurants having all these Polynesian tropical drinks, and he said this never existed anywhere else in America. I beg to differ on that, but there certainly were a lot of them. As a matter of fact, Otto and Baby Doe came to Boston to visit us, to stay with us back in the late 90s. And neither one of them could believe the fact that I could walk right out my front door and walk in any direction for like 5 to 10 minutes and get a tropical drink. Or I could drive for 10 minutes and go to the Aku Aku, which was unbelievably decorated. And still that lasted until about the year 2000. That was one of the last ones to shut down. As far as the new stuff goes, I never. Where's the? Oh, here it is.
Let me jump in real quick, Cleve. So one is the Tonga room is amazing. If you guys ever end up there, and we live in a world where people can get out and get to places, you really need to check that out. It's something else. There literally is. It's raining inside a massive, really high-end hotel with a band floating around the middle and lovely drinks floating around too. But Cleve, what?
Yep, I'm here. I was just cleaning up.
Oh, hey. What do you think was like the depths of despair? What was the period of time in which Tiki had really come to like the bottom of the barrel? It's passé. It's not interesting anymore. Drinks are being made terribly. Like you come into it, it's the 70s. You experience it. You fall in love with it. Where does it bottom out?
In the early 80s, there was a place in Boston, right by the Rat, which was the punk rock club where I used to play. And it was called the Aku Aku, and you would go in there. I used to go there. I would get my drink on there before I went to the Rat, where you basically have Budweisers and shots of Old Dolt or whatever, they would be serving out of the bottles there. But you would go in there, and the bar itself had this glorious illuminated, bar rail, and it had tropical fish swimming in it, and it was really clean, and it was, like I said, it was illuminated. It was kind of yellow gold, and the decor on the place was fantastic. And I remember around 83 or 84 going in there, and the tank was completely full of algae, and the fish were dead.
Wow. So drinks are terrible. They're not even really doing tiki anymore.
Yeah.
They don't care about the aesthetics. It's like that's the bottom. That's the bottom for you.
That was it. That was it. And right around that, just sort of, you would go to some of these places like the Valley High, where you would basically be drinking gasoline. They were really just trying to get their customers as fucked up as possible. You just like take these things, because all the syrup, everything was chemicalized, all this sweet and sour mix. There was no fresh juice. It was just, you would taste like, you wake up tasting gunmetal in your mouth. And the same was true with like frozen margaritas.
That doesn't sound like a good tasting note.
It wasn't. Fortunately, I did enough cocaine and smoked enough weed that, it kind of just, you really didn't taste all of that at the time. But
Tiki by the Sea doesn't encourage that behavior.
Yeah. Actually, let's talk about something else. Speaking of drugs, Pete, can we show the Bob Lee's Islander?
Let's do it. Let's take a look at it.
Bob Lee's
There we go.
Here in my hand. So Bob Lee's Islander was a Polynesian restaurant in Chinatown in Boston. And I want you to focus in on just, especially the side on the right, like that carpet and the ceiling there, and just take a look at that. And that was the only tiki bar that I've gone into while doing LSD. And man, that was a mistake. Oh my God. The Wicked Witch.
Not that I've done it or anything.
I'm melting. That was me on the floor. Just like, oh. So I decided to dedicate my life to rum and sugarcane spirits, and not bother with LSD anymore. So I was probably better off. But yeah, Brother Cleve's rule of thumb: never go into a tiki bar tripping on acid.
Well, you got to learn. There's only one way to learn, right?
When you're an old motherfucker like me, you got to be able to just give some advice to the generations following you, and that's it.
There you go.
All right. Anything else?
Learn from your mistakes.
Fine. But yeah, Bob Lee's Islander, that was a gorgeous place. This is one of their signature mugs, and that was
wow. I've seen that mug out there.
Oh yeah.
Hard one to find.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Because I live in Boston, I've been able to, and that was a Boston-based place. I found that in a thrift store for 50 cents years ago. I have a bunch of the Kowloon stuff is really easy to get. This is one of their little pineapple ones, and these are Kowloon salt and pepper shakers that they use.
Useful, functional too. There you go.
And like I said, I had the Kontiki, of course. This is a Mai Tai one. This is a Don the Beachcomber rum barrel. There was a Don the Beachcomber that opened down in Huntington Beach, California, in like around 2009. That was really great. Played there on New Year's Eve with my partner in crime, the Millionaire from Combustible Edison, and the tiki band Y Tiki. So that was, the tiki thing has continued on and on. The one place I never made it to, I'll just show you, I have the matchbook, was Venus. Venus was in the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and that was the first modern tiki bar.
What era are we talking about? What year are we talking about?
That was around 2002, 2003.
Wow.
The interior was designed by Bosco.
No shit.
Jeff Berry had something to do with the drinks, as I recall. As he did with the luau when that reopened, but it was.
How long did that last?
I never got out there at that point. I was spending most of my time in India at that time, and in France playing music over there. But so I never got to Las Vegas at that point, unfortunately.
How long did the Venus last? Do we know much about that?
Not very long. I forget exactly now, but I think like maybe a year, and it shut down. People just weren't ready, and they just didn't.
Too early, yeah, especially on the Strip.
Yeah, yeah. So bouncing around now, I think the other, so I started playing with this band called Combustible Edison in the early '90s, and they called their fans the Cocktail Nation, and they were the first to really juggernaut and start this whole cocktail revival. But we were also tied in with the Tiki revival. The first show that they did was not like a live performance; it was like a review of sorts. It was based on a Las Vegas review, and it was called the Tiki Wonder Hour. This was in 1991, and it was hosted by Satan, and it took place in a tiki bar in hell. And the comedian was the Suffering Bastard, who was just a guy in a paper mache outfit to look like a tiki mug. And it was great. And the music was all sort of easy listening and exotica. I thought they had broken into my house and stolen my records and were playing them back to me, because I had really got into that stuff in the 80s. In used record stores, you could find these records for 25 cents, 50 cents a piece. And the covers were great, and I started buying them and then listening to them and going, wow, this is really psychedelic. I met a guy named Byron Werner at the time who coined the term space age bachelor pad music. He was a friend of Devo. He gave Devo
That's a specific genre if I've ever heard one right there.
It is. And he had been buying all these records at the Pasadena swap meet, and he made a cassette mixtape, gave it to Devo. Mark Mothersbaugh flipped out over, because Mark Mothersbaugh and all those guys were big fans of this sort of tiki exotica music. Mark wrote the theme song to Pee-wee's Playhouse, which was definitely just sort of
there you go.
take on Martin Denny's Quiet Village. So Byron was a friend of mine, and he introduced me to Otto. And Otto, in turn, so when Combustible Edison went and played in Los Angeles in 1994, that was when we met Otto. And Otto introduced me to the rest of, or introduced us, I should say, to the rest of what I like to affectionately refer to as the LA Tiki Mafia, which was all these people that started out hanging out in Otto's backyard in Venice Beach in like around 1988, where he had these tiki parties. And it included Jeff Beachbumberry. Wait a minute, hold on one second here, because I have. This was the very first Beachbumberry grog log, a color Xeroxed
there you go.
piece.
What does that go for now on the old secondary market?
$150, $200 on eBay.
Oh.
I bought it for 10. And this was the first place. This changed my life, because this had so many recipes in it that, and Jeff, like me, would be one of these guys I'd be asking at these Chinese restaurants and Polynesian restaurants, like, well, what's in this drink? How do you make it? And the only answer you would ever get would be rum and fruit juice. So you never really knew. And I started like trying.
That's a useful spec. Just put some rum, put some fruit juice. It'll be fine.
Right. Easy breed. I had a place down the street from us where my wife Diana and I used to go all the time. It's called Yee Village. And I swear it was called Yee Village because they had the blender. Every drink went into the blender, and they flash blended everything. So every 5 minutes you just hear yee yee as the blender would go off. I thought, oh, that's why it's not their name. It's not YEE. That's the family name. No, it's the place is named after the blender making the drinks. And the drinks were pretty good there, despite not being authentic at all. But the first, I think, authentic drinks that I ran across were, well, obviously at Trader Vic's. Actually, yeah, well, that was the other thing. When I started traveling a lot. Oh, and besides Beachbumberry, I also met Sven Kirsten. Can't forget Sven, the tiki historian and archaeological digger of the group. And as a sidelight to him, Ted Hay, Dr. Cocktail, who had started the first AOL chat group on cocktails back in 1992 or 3. And it was also a great wealth of information. So all of a sudden, start getting together with these people. Paul Harrington, who wrote the Wired magazine articles on cocktails. We met him, did a show with him and Apple, the computer company, in San Francisco. The first live, not podcast, but the first live over the internet broadcast, which on a 28.8 modem back in 1996 probably took about a year to listen to.
I appreciate you clarifying who Apple is to the audience. It's a pretty obscure reference.
Well, they used to be a computer company. Now they
Now they own everything.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it was a great time to just everybody that was into this stuff. It was a small group of people, so we all got to be friends.
What years are we talking about here? What years is this?
94 is when I met Otto and Sven and actually I didn't meet Jeff right away. Jeff was actually working for Disney as a director and script doctor, and he did script doctoring for a lot of stuff in Hollywood. So he was working all the time. We didn't really get to see him too much, but he obviously was out there and very influential with doing this.
Let's talk about Europe. I'm going to put this slide up for you.
Europe, yeah. So I started going to Europe in 1985. Yeah. So first, I'll just talk about the Trader Vic's. There's one in London at the Mayfair Hotel, which is a very, very high class joint. The Mayfair district in London is very, very high class, and it's a beautiful, beautiful basement bar. We were supposed to go there last year for the Hookila. We were supposed to go there this year for the Hookila, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I have been there numerous times, and there's a great one in Munich as well. And that was about it for Europe. One time, Combustible Edison was doing a show in Germany, and you got a free Mai Tai with your admission. And I remember the Millionaire, the guitar player and founder of Combustible Edison, we went up to get our Mai Tais, and I looked at the shaker, and the guy had like 2 little tiny pieces of ice. And I said, and there was a big line of people getting Mai Tais. I said, you're going to have to get some more ice. And he just said, ice? Where would I get ice? And, that was the problem with cocktails in Europe. There was no ice.
Wow.
In Europe. The only place where you could get ice was at American bars, like Harry's New York bar in Paris, or at the various hotel bars. They would have ice for traveling Americans. But Europeans had an aperitif culture with vermouths and things of that nature that we never had, because our aperitif culture was cocktails. So the French back in the 1920s said you would die from drinking cocktails because mixing 1 or 2, mixing 2 or more ardent spirits together would kill you. Well, we'll eventually, but something's got to, right? So what the hell? You might as well have fun while you're here. But going back to that slide, I found that the only tiki culture in Europe was in Barcelona. This was a place called the Aloha. This is one of the 3 tiki bars that are left in Barcelona. There were 17, I believe that's the correct number, back in the 1970s and 80s and into the 90s. They slowly started closing, but these are still open. You can show the next picture now of the interior of it. So it's a small place, still nicely decorated. I DJ'd at this place, which was a lot of fun, and because I get free drinks. I think that's why I became a musician. I DJ, meet girls and get free drinks. Kind of cool. So there were other spots. There's a lot more bars now and other tiki bars around Europe, and of course we've met most of the folks at our Tiki by the Sea events in Rome every year. So I'm not going to give them all shout outs, but who are out there, there's some great places. And if you're going to Europe, some of them might even be open. I believe Lucky Cane in London opened about a week or so ago.
Yeah, I saw them posting. They're back.
I don't know if Scotty's got
back too. Dirty Dick.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know what else is open over there yet, but that was really phenomenal. Just seeing that, and of course, there's been Trader Vic's all around in the Middle East. There's like 3 in Dubai. There's one in Mumbai. There's one in Tokyo. There's one in Hong Kong. One in Amman, Jordan. So there was one in Cairo.
So if you get tired of the shutdown in the U.S., just get out to Jordan.
Yeah, right.
Basically, that's the
Greyhound bus there, and it'll be good. I think what else did I have here? Oh yeah. So another great place that used to go to was I got it here. I know it's here. Oh, actually, here's Waikiki Wally's in New York City in the in the East Village. This was 2nd Avenue and 2nd Street, or First Avenue and 2nd Street. And this had the wait staff there were mostly what's a politically correct term to use? They easy breed. Is cross-dressing okay? Can I say that in today's world? You know, I'm an old man. I don't know what you call these things now, but yes, they were female impersonators. Were that because they were artists, and that was a nice menu there. That was a really cool spot. Used to go down there a lot in the late '90s, early 2000s, and oh yeah, the Bahuka. So the last old school place outside of Los Angeles was the Bahuka, which was really cool. That's gone now too. That was in Rosemead, California. So we went out there with my friend Byron Werner, who I mentioned earlier, and Otto, and they're both friends with Matt Groening, who created The Simpsons and was a fantastic artist. And and he was a big Tiki fan too. So we all went. My wife Diane was over there in the other room. She came as well. We had a great time. In that it was a really funky old place with all these the fish balls like hanging from the ceiling. Fortunately, I'm not that tall, so I didn't have to duck my head. I think Matt Groening may have though, and Byron was like 6'2", so he had to. But really, really cool spot out there. That's gone. A lot of these old school places. Let me see what else.
Let's talk about Wildwood, Cleve.
Let's talk because we were talking about Barcelona in Spain, and how about Barcelona in Wildwood, New Jersey? Yes, the Barcelona Motel.
Yes, there it is.
Where we have Tiki by the Sea every year. And I had known about Wildwood for many, many, many years and had never made it down, even though it's not technically that far from me. But it's always great. We have the tour of some of these places that are still around. Now, the one on the right, the Royal Hawaiian with the flying saucer on top, is actually
how to have a flying saucer.
That is still there. It's now the owner's home, but it was a rotating bar at one point. See, life was better in the 70s. Not anymore. And the Tahiti, unfortunately, is no longer there. I'm not too sure.
That place is great. For those of you who don't know, I spent every summer down in Wildwood as a kid because my parents own a motel down there where we host Tiki by the Sea. But I distinctly remember the Tahiti, and frankly, I'll credit Wildwood with my fascination with Tiki Tropical Universe for sure.
Well, there you go. Excellent. Yeah, it's great if you are a bar industry professional. There's every year it gets announced, usually in February or March or
January.
Months.
It's all the same, right?
Yeah. There's snow on the ground where I live, so you can apply to go to Tiki by the Sea and get to indulge in all sorts of great stuff there, and maybe I'll even have some old cocktail books like this one, Okole Maluna, which means bottoms up in Hawaiian, in the Hawaiian language. And this is my favorite because it has the grades of tiki drinks there. If you can.
Oh yeah, let's get a close up. All right.
There we go. So those three guys there. The first one, he's having a drink. It's nice. It's it's got 1 ounce of spirit in there, and he's like, yeah, it's nice. I feel nice. And the middle guy is like, yeah, baby, yeah, what's happening? Que pasa? So he's had more than enough in that drink. He's like, yeah, okay. But the third guy, that's the drink I usually go for. That's like, yo, motherfucker, what is happening here? I am goddamn hammered, because he's got like 10 ounces of alcohol in that drink, and that's the way to go. So yeah, books like that, you can find them around.
Let's talk about this spot, Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver. So when I was out with Combustible Edison, we got turned on to this place. Some people that were Tiki fans up there. This is in Vancouver. It was in the Waldorf Hotel, and it was called the Tahitian Lounge, and it was in a restaurant called the Polynesian Room. Now this had been there since, I guess, the 50s or the 60s, and it was completely preserved. This hotel, when we first went there, had been closed for years, and some guys got permission to bring us as a band in just to see it and photograph it. That's actually from an old postcard from my collection, but I did take a lot of beautiful photographs inside, and they had these black velvet paintings on the wall, and they were all original Liteg of Hawaii. Liteg of Tahiti. I'm sorry, black velvet paintings, which Liteg was a guy in the 40s and 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, was out there painting naked wahinis, as we would say, on these black velvet canvases. And these original ones were there, and they were beautifully preserved, like they were like brand new. And there'd been nothing in this room. And then before we went back to Vancouver, that was 1994. So we went back to Vancouver in 1995, and our booking agent had heard that this place was now going to be open, and they wanted us to be the opening show for the debut of this gorgeous tiki bar. And we played there, and it was just stunning. Just stunning, and it lasted a while. I think they closed after a few years, and hopefully nobody, put graffiti on or drew a mustache on any of these wahine paintings. Hopefully they respected the art. I don't know if they did or not. I just hope and pray.
Well, maybe you're gonna find one.
I'm always on eBay and Tiki Bay and whatever.
Tiki Bay.
No, I just that'd be in an ideal world. It would be.
Should we make a drink? Why don't we make a cocktail here?
Sure. Let me go get some ice.
All right.
We can talk about agua cachaça.
There you go. Oh, happy hangover. That's from Cleve. All right. So our sponsor here, Agua Cachaça, great brand. I'm not biased at all. So I'm one of the founders of the product, but it's a third generation woman distiller that we work with. Estate grown cane. That's actually a visual from the farm. Airborne yeast fermented for 24 hours, single distilled in an alembic pot still. We have 7 of them, as you see here, 2 unaged on the left. The Prato, which Cleve is going to make the drink with at 84 proof. The still strength at 90 proof. And then we have a range of unique wood aged, 1 French oak and 4 indigenous woods, which is a deep tradition in Brazil. So would love to talk to you guys about that offline. If people want more info, if you want to make the drink along with us, we'll click to that right now. Here's our cocktail that Cleve is getting ice for at the moment.
All right.
Let
me just get the final setup here.
No problem. I have the cocktail up right now, Cleve. Do you want to talk about the inspiration for it?
All right. Yeah. So first of all, actually, why don't you put me back on?
I'll put you back on. Sounds good.
Because I want to just briefly talk about. I just want to briefly talk about cachaça and how I got interested in cachaça. And it mostly comes through music. My company is called Music and Cocktails by Brother Cleve. And I have been a huge lover of Brazilian music since I was a little kid. I have hundreds and hundreds of records. Brazilian.
So good. We'll have to have you back on to play some of those for sure.
That and how about this is a great one. Music from Brasilia. Look at that, the space age city of the capital of Brazil. And
that's actually, that building was designed by Oscar Niemeyer, which is the inspiration for our packaging.
That is all correct. Thank you very much. And a lot of these old bossa nova records, but the one that really changed my world was this record. I just put this down. So I bought this around 1986 or 87. Brazil, forró. Forró is a music that is played. Music, they call it music for maids and taxi drivers. It says here, and it's an accordion-driven music. I am an accordion player, amongst other instruments, and I got really fascinated by this stuff. It's similar to the Cajun and Zydeco music from New Orleans, as far as accordion-driven music goes. But the back cover, the story about it, kept talking about cachaça and how all these musicians would be drinking cachaça all the time in the favelas in the hills of Rio. So I got fascinated, and at the time I was living in Somerville, Massachusetts, which has one of the largest Brazilian populations anywhere outside of Brazil. And there was a liquor store there, Jerry's Liquors, owned by Jerry, who was actually, no, that wasn't his real name. He bought the store from somebody that was named Jerry. But he was Portuguese. It was originally a Portuguese neighborhood. And I went in one day and I said, do you have something called cachaça? And he did. And I bought it. And it's a brand that's, well known and highly available, but it's not really the best tasting thing that I had ever had. But I was still fascinated by it, and I liked it enough to continue to drink it. So fast forward 25 some odd years, and I met Pete at the Manhattan cocktail, whatever that.
You know what I think? Yeah, I think I met you at Painkiller. I think you were DJing at Painkiller, maybe.
No, actually, the first time was at the New York cocktail thing.
Oh, okay.
Then at Painkiller, because I
then at Painkiller, okay.
But he was talking about cachaça, and I was like, I love cachaça. So here we are today with a cachaça cocktail, and the inspiration on this one, actually, I just called it originally I called it the Island Breezer. Not a very exciting name, I know, but I was hired by the city of Waltham, Massachusetts, to do a party for them, and they were calling it the Breezers Ball. And the reason they called it Breezers was this was a city of an old blue-collar town that was getting gentrified, and the people that were the blue-collar townies that lived there called the new gentrifiers breezers, a derogatory term because they breezed into town. So they wanted something with breezer in the name. So that was the idea behind it. So I wanted to do a sort of tropical drink. So and what we're gonna do here is this drink is best done in a blender or a spindle blender if you've got one of these. If you don't, you should really look into it because they're phenomenal for making tropical drinks in. Blenders are great, and Vitamix, of course, is really good too. But you really get a lot of control on this, and it's really fast too. So let's see what we've got here. So we have the Plata, the silver cachaça, unaged, and we have other friends. Josh Morton from Barrows makes this intense ginger liqueur, and we've got falernum. Now this is a falernum you're not going to see in the U.S. market. This is made in Barbados. This is made by Cockspur Rum down there, and this is quite nice. I got this down in the lesser Antilles a little while ago, but I understand that there's going to be a new falernum coming out that I'm really excited about. I've done some of the tests on it as well, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're not going to need that anymore once we get that Agua falernum out.
I'm not going to need
to worry about it
anymore. So I'm looking forward to that. We're not going to talk too much about that at the moment. We'll be hearing more about it in the future, and also have some lime juice here that I've pre-squeezed, so I don't bore you with that. So
I'm going to put the spec up real quick here.
Yeah, you can put that up while I'm pouring. So we're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of the Prata. There we go. And I'll leave that bottle here. I'll put the cap in case I knock it over, because you never know. And 3/4 ounce of the ginger liqueur. In this case, the Barrows. Shout out to Josh and to Eva.
What's up, Josh?
And I have already done, here it is, a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. And of course, the falernum.
You got it in front.
That's right in front of me, isn't it? Oh. See, it's all that LSD. Okay, so half ounce of the falernum.
There is no LSD in this cocktail.
No, there is not. So in making this cocktail, you know, as tiki has transformed over the years and modernized, and you know, like I say, in the old days, you'd have all these same drinks, but everything was pretty much rum based, and that was it. Everything was rum based, and you've got the same named drinks everywhere. And now, of course, we are using all the different flavors that are available to us now. You know, a lot of this stuff, like for instance, allspice dram. Jeff Berry wrote about that in the Grog Log in 1995. I never found it anywhere until about 2009, and shortly after that, House Alpins put out their St. Elizabeth's Allspice Dram. So, you know, these things were not. A lot of this stuff wasn't available, and now bartenders are able to use a lot of things. And we're looking beyond just sweet cocktails. This is more of a savory cocktail. It's got a lot of spice notes. It's like, it could actually be called the Spice Island Breeze. And in order to do that, I have Dale DeGroff's Pimento Bitters. Speaking of allspice, this is Jamaican allspice that Dale used in this. And these bitters are really nice for drying out a drink and makes it less sweet. So put one dash of that in there. And then I had mentioned working in India. Cardamom is big in Indian cooking, and Scrappy's and Fee Brothers both make cardamom bitters, which are quite nice. So a dash of that in there. So you get these spice notes. If you try this drink and it's a little too spicy or not sweet enough for you, what I would recommend is not upping the falernum, but you could actually add some coconut cream. Which I tried. Just like if you add like about a quarter ounce of coconut cream to it, it'll just give it a little more sweetness. Because some people, this is a funky drink, okay? Because I'm a funky motherfucker, and you get the hogo, the funk from the cachaça here, and then the ginger and cardamom, and the allspice. And don't forget, falernum is lime, clove, cinnamon, and allspice as well. So that all tends to, get a lot of nice spice going. But some people like their drinks a little sweeter. But I like them a little more spicy and down and dirty. So let's.
Yeah. It's a lot of effort. Take a break if you need.
That's good. Short and sweet on this. And let's see, we have a mug. And just dump it all in, ice and all. And and we can garnish that with some mint sprigs from my backyard. And the old Trader Vic trick of a lime shell in there. And here you go, the Island Breeze. You can try that.
Beautiful.
The recipe there. Again, 1.5 of the Agua Cachaça, the Plata expression, 3/4 of the ginger liqueur, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, quarter ounce of falernum, and
here we go. Specs right here again.
Cardamom and allspice.
Please do make this at home. Post it up at Tiki by the CNJ, hashtag Tiki by the C. Would love to see what you guys have out there. We're gonna pick some winners over the coming weeks for best cocktail shown out there. But yes, very cool, delicious cocktail. Wish I was drinking it. I'm just sipping some Pratinid here, as one does. But thank you very much, Cleve.
Yes, indeed.
Woo! All right. So you can reach Brother Cleve at these following locations. You can feel free to get in touch with us. Brother Cleve at Gmail, IG at Brother Cleve. Here's his Mixcloud, if anybody's interested in it. Some dope music up there. He is our de facto DJ / brand ambassador / anything we need at Tiki by the Sea. So thank you so much for that. We're going to flip over 5 questions with the Tiki fam. Steve Casey. Here we are. Barcelona Motel. Fantastic shirt. Jenny would be very proud. All right, I have my questions here. Hard-hitting stuff. Number 1, favorite cocktail. We can't hear you. Hold on, we got to unmute you.
Daiquiri.
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 How many daiquiris do you think we've made at Tiki by the Sea?
Not enough.
Wow. Remember that year we had to make like 5 daiquiris in a row?
Yes.
Per session? Is literally every session was a daiquiri?
Yes, still not enough.
All right, that's fair. Can't really dispute that. Favorite Tiki by the Sea memory?
Sharing a scorpion bowl with Lana.
Where were you?
It was during a seminar. And
So you weren't doing your job, is what you're saying.
yeah, it was during a seminar. Scorpion bowl.
Not a scorpion bowl. Who gave it to you? Where'd it come from?
It was one of the cocktails for a seminar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Describe Tom Nevenglowski.
Ooh, okay. If a bear and
Love it already.
something equally as irascible, but also sweet, were combined, like a pineapple. If a bear and a pineapple were a thing, it's Tom Nevenglowski.
Wow, that's pretty strong. That's a good one. Bear and a pineapple.
Yeah.
I hope everybody gets to meet Tom Nevenglowski. We are planning for a cameo.
Great.
In the near future.
Great. I can't wait for him to make a drink.
Oh, it's going to be great. He makes Coors Lights all the time.
It's going to be awesome. He's an excellent Coors Light maker. I've seen it. He's also beautiful at a clam bake. Those are his highlights. Pete, did you lose?
Hello? Did we lose Pete?
Maybe we lost Pete.
There he is.
He's muted. He muted himself.
Mute himself.
Oh, yeah. I can see it.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Jumped on the-
Pete's out of here.
He jumped on the grenade.
Right? Thank you so much. This was really great. How's your cocktail tasting?
Tasting pretty great.
Yeah?
You know what it tastes like? Another.
Yeah?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to go to work. Oh, you know what? He was going to ask me a question about how I knew when the Tiki thing was actually happening, and he didn't ask me the question, so I saved it. I just will show that the Exoticon in Los Angeles that Automod Stroheim did in 1995 was the first major Tiki easy listening and cocktail shows. Shag did that artwork, Beach Bum, the drinks there. It was in the old Park Plaza Hotel on the Miracle Mile next to MacArthur Park. And they had about 4,000 people. If Otto was here, he could correct me on that, but I believe that was about the size of it. It was just a major, major event there. And that was December 1995, featuring Combustible Edison, the Joey Altruda Sextet, the Phantom Surfers, the Wonderful World of Joey, Corla Pandit, Brother Cleve, the Tiki Tones, Davey Allen and the Arrows, Eddie Detroit, Samoan dancers. It was phenomenal. So that was when I saw that Tiki was going to actually happen, 1995.
Wow. Is combustible Edison still a thing, Cleve?
No, we broke up in 1998.
Okay.
But the vinyl is available out there and on the various sources. And there he is.
I have no idea what just happened. My tech decided I don't have a microphone on my computer anymore.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. All right, hold on.
You're here to wrap this up.
I still have 2 more questions. Weirdest Wildwood experience.
Weirdest Wildwood experience. I mean, every Wildwood experience is unique in its own way.
Come on, that's not an answer. Well, that's true. It's still not an answer.
Weirdest Wildwood experience. I mean, the first year we had to play mini golf because it was storming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That mini golf was amazing. And
that was your finest hour, I will say.
Oh,
that was your finest hour. You really nailed it on that one.
Thanks, Pete.
What a pivot. Impressive. That was very impressive.
Thank you, Pete.
Was that the glow in the dark one?
Yeah. I remember you at that, Cleve.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I was glowing in the dark, all right.
Oh, yeah. All right, last question. What is a Mai Tai? And how do I get one?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure you don't. Come on, the internet needs to know more. What is a Mai Tai?
I don't know what a Mai Tai is. What is a Mai Tai?
Wow, you're going to make me answer it. Okay.
I have not a clue what you're talking about.
Okay. A Mai Tai is an email that Steve has sent out meaning to say Mai Tai, but unintentionally typing Mai Tai and thinking that I wouldn't catch it, which is completely incorrect because I catch all these things. And in fact, resulted in the creation of a physical tie with the guy drinking a Mai Tai on it, which I believe you have still in your possession, I'm hoping. Steve?
I never throw away a Nat B creation.
Amazing. All right, here we are. Here's the crew. Let me just make an announcement here going into next week. Or is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. I got to share my screen again, too. Almost there. All right, here we go. So next week, Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Alan Katz, co-founder and distiller of New York Distilling Co., is going to talk about botanical spirits and tiki. Awesome guy, really brilliant, makes amazing gin rye. He also makes our Svol Aquavit, which we are super excited for him to do. Yeah, we'd love to see you guys then. Thank you so much to everybody that's joined here, especially Brother Cleve. It's been awesome.
Cleve, we appreciate you so much.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Brother Cleve.
Signing off from the Tiki universe.
Bye, guys.